As mega landlords buy hundreds of thousands of units across the country and rents have increased, tenants and advocates are calling for new rules and regulations that would punish all landlords. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the issue of affordable housing and how a lot of tenants and advocates and, politicians, they're all claiming that these corporate buyers are driving up the cost of housing, they're driving up the cost of rents, they're making it impossible for people to, first-time home buyers to find a house because they're buying up all the properties. Well, I don't agree with that. I think that the mega landlords, they're huge, but at the same time, they own a very minuscule portion of the rental, the single family rental market as a whole. I mean, I can't remember what I read, but I think it was they only control like 2% of all single family rentals across the country. But in some areas like, Atlanta or in Phoenix, Arizona, they own a much larger portion. The thing is that, there's plenty of single family homes out there that are being, rented and bought by other groups. Okay. And the rules that they're trying to put in place, the regulations they're trying to put in place to try to get these mega landlords, well, they're going to hit all landlords. They're going to be hurting every single landlord who, whether you own one property or 100, it doesn't matter. That's because they don't even consider the fact that, hey, well, everybody's going to have to comply by these rules. It's really kind of dumb when you think about it. Okay. But, they need to come and they need to talk to the small landlords, just like, they think that, hey, we're going to have to, comply. We're going to have to follow any eviction protections, any rent controls that are put in place as well. Okay. So it's absolutely ridiculous. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. And before I go any further, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Okay. I just hit 5,000 subscribers and I am ecstatic. I'm just happy as heck. I didn't know this channel was ever going to grow to be this large. And, I'm just doing this for fun. This is a hobby. I do it in my free time. I have a full-time job. I run my real estate investment properties on top of that. And I'm a dad and a husband. And, I'm a busy person. And 5,000 people decided to watch this channel and, subscribe to it and tune in to me talking about real estate every single day. And I really do appreciate it. And thank you. So, the article I have for you today, but after I read the article, I am going to go over one of the comments that someone put in my comment section. And I talked earlier about how I want to, every once in a while put comments at the end of my videos. And so I thought this comment was interesting and I'm going to give a response on video to it. But this article is coming from The Hill and it says, "Renters are the overlooked victims of big investors." All right, let's get into it. Mega landlords, institutional real estate investors that own and rent out thousands of single-family homes, have quietly operated under the radar over the last 10 years as they have gobbled up huge numbers of single-family homes. Families desperately trying to buy houses are losing out to institutional investors who can outbid them, offer all-cash deals, and waive mortgage and inspection contingencies. But as the mega landlords have exploded in size, so has the legion of families who rent single-family homes from them. And renters are calling attention to neglected maintenance, excessive rent increases, and capriciously non-renewed leases by the mega landlords. While we must attend to their stifling effect on homeownership, we must also take this moment to protect the growing contingent of renters from mega landlords' egregious practices. Yeah, as you can tell, this article is written in a much tenant-friendly slant. We'll just call it that. Okay, so it's pretty anti-landlord. And the thing is, when they say this stuff, right, the same thing these mega landlords are doing is the things that smaller landlords have been doing for years. Okay, so let's go back a couple of paragraphs, and it says here, that they were buying homes over the last 10 years, large number of single-family homes. Well, guess what? After the recession of 2008. The people, the investors, they came in, they saved the market, okay? They came in, they bought a whole ton of dilapidated houses, they fixed them up, and they started renting them out. And that's where these mega landlords really got their start. They were buying up all those foreclosures, all those short sales, all the, single family homes that the regular home buyers didn't want to buy. Now they're mad because we did that. Can you believe that? Yeah. Oh, no. Well, why did you do that? Well, now there aren't enough homes for sale, so you need to get rid of all. No. This is our business model. This is what we've been doing for a long time. And I can say this, I only own 4 single family rentals, but at the same time, it's the same exact business model that I do. I was buying cheap houses, I was fixing them up, and then I'm renting them out. And yeah, I'm raising the rents on them, okay? I use good property management, and, we follow a strict set of rules. So what do they expect? They're like, oh, well, they have excessive rent increases. Well, how do you define excessive? Is it beyond what people can afford to pay? Because if it was, then they wouldn't be able to raise their rent to that level. The only reason they're able to raise their rent to that level is because people can afford to pay it. Okay? And therefore, if the market dictates that people can afford to pay that, people are willing to pay that, then that is the cost. Okay? Not what some government or some, progressive politician thinks that the rent should be. Okay, but let's keep going. How did we get to this point? Historically, single-family rentals were the domain of small-scale mom-and-pop landlords who owned and operated a few properties. But in the wake of the 2008 housing crisis, as foreclosures spiked and house prices fell, investors seized an opportunity. Under the guise of stabilizing neighborhoods hard hit by foreclosures, the federal government sold vacant, formerly owner-occupied homes to investors in bulk. These programs allowed investment firms to amass large portfolios of single-family houses quickly. And it's a good thing that they did, because those houses were vacant. A lot of them were in bad shape, and those landlords, they came in, bought, dozens or hundreds of properties, fixed them up, and then rented them. Those neighborhoods would have been dead if not for investors who were willing to spend money and fix those properties up. Whether they were big or small investors doesn't matter. Okay, they actually did a service to a lot of these cities, in my opinion. Okay, especially after the recession just absolutely decimated the housing market, and we had a whole ton of people who no longer could afford to own a home. They needed places to rent. People still do need places to rent. So now going into the future, you know what these large corporate investors are doing now? They're not even buying up homes anymore. They're building to rent. They're building single family subdivisions just to rent out. So how can you blame them for taking their own assets, doing a complete development deal, and building all new construction? I mean, those houses were never available. They weren't even there. So you can't say, oh, well, they took these houses away from people. No, these corporate investors are doing a service to the communities that they're in my opinion. Okay. Now, are the rents going to be at market level? Yes, they are. Why? Because these corporate investors, they have to respond to their investors. Okay. So they have a lot of people who, rely upon them to get a certain amount of return on their investment. Okay. They're not like the mom and pop landlord. They're the only one who is, getting any sort of return. They're going to raise the rent up to the maximum level that they can. And they have, a ton of staff. They have, compliance people. They got accountants. They got property management to handle all of the issues that are there. If they say that the maintenance isn't right, well, they need to just call up the maintenance people. Because, these corporate investors there's no reason for them to purposefully keep people in squalor. Okay. That honestly doesn't make any sense. That part of this article just sounds like, it's just some people who are complaining. Maybe they didn't get their stuff fixed fast enough, but most of the time they can afford to get the repairs done, and they will, because they have the maintenance and the contracts and the whole system set up to do that. The mega landlords grew even more prominent through a flurry of corporate mergers. Today, 4 mega landlords, Invitation Homes, Progress Residential, American Homes for Rent, and Tricon Residential, own more than 225,000 single-family houses in the U.S. And I actually invest in American Homes for Rent. Okay, it's a REIT, and I actually own some of that REIT. Okay, so I'm part of the problem apparently. I'm not only a landlord, I also own REITs. So, it's actually kind of funny, but I decided to invest with them because I actually do believe that single family rentals are a great way forward going into the future. The mega landlords argue, though, that while the number of houses they own is large, the proportion overall is small. Too small, they say, to afford them any market power. But in neighborhoods, a much different picture emerges. Mega landlords focus on certain places, often those with weak tenant protection laws like the Sun Belt and the Southwest. And within those places, they focus on certain neighborhoods. In my research, I find that mega landlords own up to 35% of single-family homes in Atlanta area neighborhoods. And where their rentals are highly concentrated, mega landlords have outsized power over the lives of residents. They can undermine renters' access to those neighborhoods, as well as housing affordability and stability. So, I'm reading this, right? And they're like, oh, well, in certain neighborhoods in Atlanta, they own up to 35%. Like, yeah, they're focusing their attention on the areas where they know they're going to get the best bang for their buck, the best return on their investment. Okay, so I don't blame them one bit, these mega landlords, for not saying, oh, you know what, we're going to invest in Toledo, Ohio in the hood. No, a lot of them are not going to be doing that. At the same time, they are saying to themselves, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to be raising our rents up to the highest level. We're going to be, we want a good return. And they say that some people are going to be locked out of these neighborhoods. Yeah. Renters are locked out of every neighborhood, okay? I guarantee you they couldn't live in my neighborhood here right now. Why? Because this is a single family house neighborhood where the grand majority, I'd say 95% plus of the people who live in my neighborhood own their homes. And they're not going to rent them out because you wouldn't be able to make enough rent to pay the mortgage payment on the house. There's a lot of neighborhoods like that. So are renters going to be locked out of certain neighborhoods? Yeah. Neighborhoods you can't afford to live in. Okay. I'm locked out of Beverly Hills. I can't afford a $10 million mansion. You see me complaining? Oh, well, it's not fair. I can't afford my $10 million mansion. No. You know what? Simply put, there's going to be areas where you can afford, and there's going to be areas you can't afford, no matter who you are, except for unless you're like Elon Musk or something, okay? So, but I find this article hilarious. I think it's funny that they want to blame the small or the big landlords for everything, right? And when I skip down a little bit, you know what they start talking about in this article? Eviction laws, and specifically the good cause eviction laws. So let me get down to that paragraph. We can begin by requiring mega landlords simply to disclose their properties. Currently, they conceal their ownership behind aliases. Disclosure is the first step so that municipalities and residents alike can understand the magnitude of mega landlords' presence in their neighborhoods. Second, we should institute good cause eviction protections for families who rent their homes from mega landlords. If a tenant abides by the provision of their lease, they should be allowed to renew their lease and remain in their home. Combined with caps on rent increases, good cause eviction protections would increase housing stability and security for families. It would allow kids to remain in their schools and families to remain close to jobs and loved ones. And there we go. Okay, they're talking about this good cause eviction thing where a landlord would no longer have the right to evict a tenant, or not even evict, just allow the contract to end. Okay, if you put somebody in a house and you say, hey, you have a 1-year lease, and for that 1 year, you promise that you're going to pay $1,000 a month. Well, when the year comes up, right, and that year is over, you only had a promise of 1 year at $1,000 a month. So if the next year that landlord says, hey, your rent's going to be $1,500 a month now, well, you have two options, okay? You can either pay that $1,500 a month or you can leave. Okay, that there's no option of, no, I get to stay and I get to pay the $1,000 a month that I paid last year. No, that's not the contract that you signed. Okay, you need to understand that. And second of all, the author's bringing up, protection against, these rent increases and talking about mega landlords are using stuff to conceal their identity so that you actually know who owns the property. And you know what they're talking about there, LLCs, right? The only problem is you can be a single family house owner with an LLC and have one house. Okay, I could have it on my 4 properties here in Omaha, and see, a corporate entity owns it, and see, you would be falling under all of these ridiculous rules that they're trying to put in place. And that's exactly why I say, simply put, when they attack these mega landlords, they're coming after you. Okay, they're not coming after just the big giant landlords with hundreds of thousands of units. No, every single law, every single rule, every single regulation that they pass will hurt small landlords and big landlords alike. And that's why we have to fight against it. Okay, we have to fight against it because, simply put, this will destroy your business if they put rent controls and eviction moratoriums and all this nonsense in place, and it's permanent. Okay. And as you can see, I get real heated about this stuff because it's ridiculous. And I don't like it. I don't like this kind of interference by the government into my business. And I don't like these far left-leaning, progressive ideas that are so anti-capitalism. Okay. But, like I said, I'm going to read a comment that someone left on my channel. And, before I finish up this video, and I thought the comment was interesting, and I just wanted to give a little bit of a response to it because, why not? I'm trying to change things up a little bit and, go off with a new format. And, some of the stuff is really interesting that people say in my comments. Okay, this comment is coming from Suzanne Siskowski, and it was in response to my video, Arizona City makes it illegal to reject Section 8 tenants. Okay, and I'm going to read the comment first, and then I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are on it, or what my reply is. I'm on the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. Due to that, I'm disabled. In the units I've lived in, Scottsdale, both South and North Scottsdale, there has been many issues, including alleged dangers, including roach infestation, etc., as well as being illegal rentals that were being paid by the government on my behalf. I've been a great tenant, so get over yourselves. I understand that there are bad tenants, which include those on this program as well as those that are the super rich and or famous. There are also many bad landlords whom doesn't fix things, as well as those whom leave properties that are rented to those whom are on the programs, such as the voucher programs, that will leave the unit in such horrible conditions, etc. Okay, so here's my response to you, Suzanne, okay? So simply put, right, Section 8 program, and the whole point of the video is that I don't think that anyone should be forced to participate in the Section 8 program if they don't want to participate in it. Okay. Now, the landlords who do participate in it, here's the thing, right? When you're renting to Section 8 tenants, a lot of them are not top tier tenants. So they're going to end up in very low scale, low end properties. Okay. And the landlords who deal with it, they are used to dealing with these sort of tenants, such as yourself. Okay. Jumping through all the hoops for the government is not easy. I know because I have Section 8 tenants, right? Now, I'm not saying that you're a bad tenant by any means, but simply put, if you have these sort of issues with your landlord, you need to talk to your landlord or you need to talk to people at the Section 8 program. And worst case scenario, you need to go. Okay, get out of there. If the place is so awful, infested with roaches and all that, why are you living in it? Okay, why are you living there? Probably because you can't find another Section 8 landlord because nobody wants to participate in that program. Or this is the best that you could possibly get for, your situation. That is the truth, okay? So if I was you, if there's an issue, with this landlord, you need to contact the people at Section 8 and let them know, hey, this landlord isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, or you need to start looking for another place to live if the landlord isn't going to fix the problems. All right, you don't have a right to stay there any more than the landlord has, a right to force you to live in these unsanitary conditions. Okay, so I don't know who is to blame in this situation. All I can say is that I read a lot of stories from tenants about these awful living situations they live in. Hey, I had a tenant in my unit, and guess who caused the roach problem? They did. Because they didn't keep things clean. And I hope that you are not one of these people who isn't keeping keeping the place clean. The landlord's coming in there and spraying, and the roaches are still there because you're so nasty. That's one of the unfortunate issues that happens way too often. Okay. So, like I said earlier, leave comments down below. I am going to start answering more comments at the end of these videos. And, this is, I really do appreciate all of the people who have liked and subscribed.